Sophia, you're making a huge mistake. My father's words echoed through his corner office on the 47th floor of Taylor Industries headquarters. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, Chicago's skyline stretched endlessly, a testament to the empire he'd built over 30 years. An empire he expected me to inherit, not challenge. I stood my ground, resignation letter in hand. I'm not making a mistake, Dad. I'm making a choice. A foolish choice, he scoffed, running his hand through his silver hair, still thick at 60, just like his stubbornness. You want to leave Taylor Industries to start your own company? What? Your trust fund that I control. The leather chairs, mahogany desk, and wall of achievements behind him had always been meant to intimidate. Today they just reminded me why I had to leave. I have my own savings, I said quietly. And my own ideas. He laughed, that sharp, dismissive sound I'd grown up hearing whenever I suggested something that didn't align with his vision. Ideas. He picked up the business proposal I'd spent months preparing. Green energy? Sustainable technology? This isn't business, Sophia. This is a fantasy. Renewable energy is the future. The future, he cut in, is what I built. Well, guess. Real energy. Real power. Not these hippie dreams about saving the world. I watched him toss my proposal aside, remembering all the times I'd seen him do the same to others' dreams. The difference was, this time it was personal. I've learned from you, Dad. Every strategy, every move. You've learned. He stood, his 6'2" frame towering over his desk. You think watching me run this company for a few years makes you ready? You think your fancy MBA means you understand what it takes? I understand more than you think. No, he said flatly, you don't. You want to know what I understand? I understand that without me, without this company, without my connections and my money, you'll fail. And fail spectacularly. The words hit hard, but I'd expected them. Richard Taylor hadn't built a multi-billion-dollar energy empire by being gentle. Maybe I will fail, I admitted. But it'll be my failure. On my terms. Terms. He barked out another laugh. Let me tell you about terms, daughter. You walk out that door, you're cut off. No trust fund. No family connections. No safety net. I pulled out my company ID and placed it on his desk. I know. You'll come crawling back within 6 months, he predicted. If you're lucky, there might still be a place for you here. Under proper supervision, of course. The family photos on his credenza caught my eye, me at graduation standing beside him as he beamed at the cameras. The perfect heir to his perfect empire. If only they knew how many nights I'd spent researching sustainable energy, developing business plans, preparing for this moment. I'm not coming back, Dad. He stood, walking to the window. Chicago sprawled before him like his personal kingdom. You know what your problem is, Sophia? You think business is about ideas. It's not. It's about power. Control. Things you know nothing about. Maybe that's your way, I said. But it's not mine. Your way. He turned, face flushed with anger. Your way will lead straight to bankruptcy. You think you can compete in this industry? Against me? Against Taylor Industries. I'm not trying to compete with you. Everything is competition, he shouted, making me flinch. And you're not ready for it. You'll never succeed without my help. Never. The words hung in the air between us, heavy with 3 decades of expectations, disappointments, and unspoken emotions. Watch me, I whispered, turning toward the door. When you fail, he called after me, remember this moment. Remember I tried to protect you from yourself. I stopped at the threshold, looking back one last time. When I succeed, Dad, remember this moment too. The elevator ride down was the longest of my life. Employees stared as I carried my small box of belongings through the lobby. Everyone knew who I was, the boss's daughter, the heir apparent, now walking away from it all. My phone buzzed, Mom calling, no doubt having heard the news. I let it go to voicemail. She'd always supported me quietly, but never against Dad. Not openly. Outside, Chicago's summer heat hit me like a wall. I looked up at the Taylor Industries tower, at the office where my father was probably already calling board members, damage controlling his daughter's defection. My real office was waiting, a small space in a converted warehouse on the city's north side. No view, no mahogany, no prestige. Just potential. You'll never succeed without my help. His words followed me into the taxi, but something else followed too, determination. Because what my father never understood was that his greatest lessons weren't about power or control. They were about what not to do. My phone buzzed again, a text from my younger brother James. "Dad's furious. Says you've lost your mind." I typed back, "Maybe. But I found my purpose." 3 years. That's what my calculations showed. 3 years before Taylor Industries' old-school energy approach would start showing cracks. Before their refusal to adapt to changing markets would catch up with them. 3 years to build something new. Something sustainable. Something that would either save my father's company or watch it crumble. The taxi pulled up to my new office. The sign was already installed. Nova Green Solutions. Small, simple, nothing like Taylor Industries' grand logo. But it was mine. I looked at my phone one last time before turning it off. Dozens of missed calls, messages, industry contacts probably already pulling away, afraid of angering Richard Taylor. Let them. I didn't need his help, his connections, or his approval. I needed 3 years. And I was going to make every day count. 3 years can feel like an eternity or pass in the blink of an eye. For me, they were both. The converted warehouse that housed Nova Green's first office became my home more than my apartment did. I slept on a couch in my office most nights that first year, surrounded by research papers, prototype designs, and the steady hum of servers running simulations. My team started small, just 5 people who believed in the vision enough to leave cushy jobs. Dr. Sarah Chin, a brilliant environmental engineer who'd been dismissed by Taylor Industries as too radical. Marcus Wong, a software architect who saw the future in sustainable tech. 3 others who chose purpose over prestige. Taylor's daughter goes green, the industry rags proclaimed. Then they forgot about me exactly as planned. The first breakthrough came 4 months in. Sarah burst into my office at 3 a.m., coffee-stained papers in hand. "We did it," she said, spreading diagrams across my desk. "The energy conversion rate, it's possible." I stared at the numbers, my hands shaking. Our theoretical model worked. Clean energy production at nearly half the cost of traditional methods. But theory wasn't enough, we needed proof. The next 6 months were a blur of prototypes, failures, and refinements. Every mistake taught us something. Every setback pushed us forward. I sold my car, my designer clothes, my luxury apartment. Everything went into the company. Meanwhile, Taylor Industries loomed over the city like a colossus. Dad made sure I saw his success everywhere. New contracts, expansion announcements, his face on business magazines declaring him energy's old guard standing strong. Mom called occasionally, her voice careful. "Your father misses you," she'd say. "He's just too proud to admit it." "Does he miss me or the control he had over me?" I'd ask. She never had an answer. The second year brought our first major success. Our prototype worked, really worked. Clean, sustainable energy production at scale. Patents were filed under shell companies to avoid attention. The last thing we needed was Taylor Industries noticing too soon. I remembered Dad's words every time we hit a milestone. "You'll never succeed without my help." Each success felt like a quiet rebuttal. Then came the whispers. Small at first but growing. Taylor Industries was struggling to adapt to new environmental regulations. Their stock dropped 10% after a major oil spill. Dad's old-school approach was starting to show cracks. James called one night, his voice low. "Dad's worried, sophomore really worried. The board's asking questions about sustainability plans." "He could change direction," I suggested. "Adapt. You know Dad. He'd rather sink with his old ship than sail on a new one." I watched from afar as the company's problems grew. Environmental groups protested outside their headquarters. Major clients started demanding green alternatives Taylor Industries couldn't provide. Dad's interviews became defensive, angry. Nova Green, meanwhile, was thriving in silence. Our technology wasn't just working, it was revolutionizing the industry. Major tech companies started approaching us secretly, tired of depending on outdated energy sources. "Your father announced another expansion today," Sarah mentioned one evening, knowing I still tracked Taylor Industries' moves. "His last stand," I said quietly, reviewing projections that showed what he refused to see. The energy market was shifting fundamentally. The third year was when everything accelerated. Nova Green's valuation hit 11 figures, though we kept that quiet. Our technology was now powering major facilities across 3 continents. And Taylor Industries. The call came on a Tuesday. James, his voice shaking. Dad's in trouble, sophomore real trouble. The banks are calling in loans. Stocks in free fall. He's looking for investors, but... I looked out my real office window, no longer a warehouse, but the top floor of a downtown building with a clear view of Taylor Industries Tower. How bad? I asked, already knowing the answer. Bankruptcy bad. Unless someone buys in. Someone with new technology, new vision. Someone who could help transition the company to sustainable energy. I smiled slightly, thinking of the file that had sat in my desk for 2 years. Contingency plans. Acquisition strategies. Everything needed to save Taylor Industries or buy it. What's Dad saying? James laughed bitterly. You know Dad. Still acting tough. But soft. He's scared. Really scared. I opened my laptop, accessing Nova Green's real numbers. We could buy Taylor Industries 3 times over now. Save it. Transform it. But that wasn't the point. Tell him to set up a meeting, I said. With his potential investor. You know someone? You could say that. The pieces were in place. The moment I'd both dreaded and prepared for was here. 3 years of work, of silence, of building something that could either save my father's company or watch it fall. 3 days, I said. Have him clear his schedule. After hanging up, I stood at my window watching the sun set behind Taylor Industries Tower. The empire Dad had built was crumbling, not because of competition or market forces, but because of his own refusal to change. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. He needs help, Sophia. Real help. I thought of that day in his office, his dismissive laugh, his absolute certainty that I would fail without him. I know, I typed back. Help is coming. Just not in the way any of them expected. There's something surreal about walking into a place that was once home, knowing you now have the power to either save or destroy it. The Taylor Industries lobby, once my playground, now felt like a museum of fading glory. The security guard, the same one who'd watched me leave 3 years ago, did a double take. Miss Taylor? Miss Taylor. I have a meeting with the board, I said quietly. His eyes widened. Everyone in the industry knew about this meeting. Taylor Industries' last hope, a mysterious green energy investor with deep pockets and deeper technology. The elevator ride to the 47th floor was exactly 43 seconds. I'd counted it countless times as a child. Today I counted it one last time watching the numbers climb. My phone buzzed with messages from my team at Nova Green, confirming everything was in place. We'd spent weeks preparing for this moment. The boardroom doors were already open. Inside, faces I'd known my entire life now looked older, worried. Board members who'd once patted my head now sat anxiously awaiting their potential savior. And at the head of the table, Dad looked older too. His silver hair had more white, his commanding presence diminished by months of watching his life's work crumble. He stood as I entered, confusion crossing his face. Sophia? What are you doing here? We're waiting for an important meeting. I know, I said, taking the visitor's seat at the opposite end of the table. That's why I'm here. The room went silent. Dad's face went through a series of emotions, confusion, disbelief, understanding, and finally, fear. No, he whispered. I opened my laptop, bringing up the presentation I'd prepared. Shall we begin? You. The word escaped him like a punch. You're the investor? Nova Green Solutions, I said clearly, letting the name hang in the air. We've reviewed Taylor Industries' situation thoroughly. Your infrastructure is outdated. Your technology is obsolete. Your market share is plummeting. This is absurd, Dad started, but the board chairman cleared his throat. Richard, please. Let's hear the proposal. I clicked through slides showing Nova Green's technology, our market penetration, our valuation. With each number, each graph, each demonstration of success, my father seemed to shrink further into his chair. Our offer is simple, I continued. We'll buy a controlling interest. Inject new capital. Transform Taylor Industries' infrastructure to sustainable energy using our technology. Your technology? Dad's voice was hoarse. All this time. Yes, I met his eyes. All this time. The board members were scribbling notes, whispering among themselves. They could see what Dad had refused to see. This was their only way forward. You'll never succeed without my help, I quoted softly. Isn't that what you said, Dad? He stared at me, really seeing me perhaps for the first time. Sophia, The offer expires in 48 hours, I continued professionally. After that, we'll be making similar proposals to your competitors. You'd do that? He leaned forward. To your own father? You taught me business isn't about family, I reminded him. It's about power. Control. Remember. The board chairman cleared his throat again. The terms seem very favorable, Richard. More than fair. Fair. Dad stood suddenly. My own daughter plotting behind my back. Like you plotted to cut me off? I kept my voice calm. To prove I couldn't succeed without you? I was protecting you. No, I stood too. You were controlling me. There's a difference. The silence that followed was heavy with decades of unspoken words. Outside the windows, Chicago continued its endless dance of commerce and ambition, unaware of the drama unfolding in this room. The company will retain its name, I said softly. You'll remain on the board. Your legacy isn't being erased, Dad. It's being saved. He sank back into his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 63 years. When did you become this? I was always this, I replied. You just couldn't see it. The board voted immediately. They had no choice really. Taylor Industries was days away from collapse. My offer was their only lifeline. As papers were signed and hands were shaken, Dad remained seated, staring out at the city he'd once conquered. 3 years, he said finally. You built all this in 3 years. 2 years actually, I corrected. The 3rd year was spent preparing for this moment. He turned to me, and for the first time in my life I saw something new in his eyes: respect. I was wrong, he said quietly. About which part? All of it. He stood, straightening his tie one last time. So, what happens now? I walked to the window, standing beside him. Below us, a city powered increasingly by Nova green technology hummed with life. Now, I said, we build something new. Together, if you're willing to learn. Learn? From my daughter. A ghost of his old smile appeared. The mighty Richard Taylor, taking lessons from the next generation? The next generation saved your company, I reminded him. Maybe it's time to listen to what else we have to say. He nodded slowly, years of certainty and stubbornness finally cracking. I'm listening. And so, as the sun set over Chicago, casting long shadows through the boardroom windows, father and daughter stood side by side, looking out at a future neither had imagined 3 years ago. My phone buzzed, Mom asking how it went. I typed back 3 words. We're both learning. Because sometimes success isn't about proving someone wrong. Sometimes it's about proving yourself right and bringing them along for the journey. Even if that journey takes you right back where you started, but stronger, wiser, and finally truly seen.